I can watch 3 ASL Open Cups a day, one person can't cast them. Oh no, you got me. Casters are all secretly lazy. All right, yeah, Zest. Wear that good color pink. He loves pink, man. It's his color. When he plays versus Scarlet, well, Scarlet doesn't play with pink much anymore for some reason. When they played together, I think I asked her, like, so who gets to be pink? I forget what her answer was. Anyways, he's always liked pink on Protoss. In the top left, as the pink Protoss, it is Zest. In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, he is Bomber. Showing some really solid macro in PvT, which is the most obvious thing you can say about a Bomber game. But I really do want to, like, emphasize it just because I will also, when he loses games with the same style, I will also be, you know, ruthlessly critical of it in his old style fashion of playing. Old-fashioned style of playing. Words are hard. But no, seriously, it was good. It was a style that I've seen other more up and trendy Terrans do. Cure being probably the trendiest of them all on Simulacrum, but I don't really know if it's like something you want to do all the time. I really don't know if you should be skipping factory production or ghosts. Even in that game that I was talking about with Cure in the Alima League, he did the fast 8 barracks first, and that was a big like, oh, what is this? What the heck? And then he eventually was like adding on Ghost Academy and Starports. He actually won the game before he had to use them, but that's because the Protoss made a boo-boo and got completely surrounded. But whether it's completely surrounding them on a big old wide open map like Simulacrum, or just catching them off guard this way and that like Bomber did against Hero, I can see how it's effective. I just don't think you do it every time. And yeah, I still think Widow Mines are really good. But I'll hold off on more discussion about that. I do think Zest will take this, but I'm definitely biased towards Zest in that I always liked his PvT. He has this very weird thing that makes me just like, I don't know, it really makes me like empathize with him, where even the pros kind of make fun of him right at Home Spray Cup with like a Zest macro, where he'll do the Twilight Council double forge style, or sometimes single forge, whatever. And then he'll like miss macro and like die, like almost die around his third, and then he'll barely survive and be fine for the rest of the game. And you're like, well, why don't you just like not almost die? How about you just do that? And it just makes me feel like, you know, he's human too. I could absolutely play like Zest. I could almost die and then come back. Absolutely. Anyways, I've also just, I've really liked this style of Protoss play since it could actually happen in Legacy of the Void. And Zest he seems to be he still prefers this style, even though it's certainly not the only thing he does. He'll add in a Stargate, he'll add in a Twilight Council, or Grub Opener. All the good stuff. So I'm just admitting, you know, my faults right now. A little Zest bias. But I also just think that Zest is overall a better player. Bomber might be able to beat some, like, the older names. I think he is one of the better players of the older names. But I think he is still... He's got a lot of work to do, is, I guess, what I'll say, instead of elaborating. Because there's not really any point. The general thing is that there's still a lot of work to do. Whereas Zest, I don't know, it's more like a pro gamer thing where it's like, well, yes, he's great at X, but maybe a little work on Y. I feel like Bomber's kind of just like all, you know, like How to Train Your Dragon, where he's like gestures to all of him. And he's like, you know, yeah. But, you know, Bomber, I used to be a huge fan of Bomber, actually. So I know it sounds like when I'm ragging on him, it's kind of like just like funny to do so. But I was such a huge fan of Bomber back in the day. I always liked him more than Pult as well. When everyone was all about the Pult, all about the Pult. That makes sense because I'm a stupid macro player. He is going for a Banshee opener this time and actually committing to it. Not changing anything up. He does recognize it as a Twilight Council opener, despite not literally scouting anything. Pylon's gonna see the Banshee and immediate warping of Stalkers. Bomber realizes his mistake and pulls back. It's unlikely the Observer is at the third base right now, but it's entirely possible. As you can see, the first Observer goes to the left side. It could have gone to the right. I definitely would say the left side's more common for a Wood of Mine drop to come in, which is kind of what you're expecting. If you don't scout anything, you expect a 1/1/1 Wood of Mine drop. It's a lot of what the other Kyrian Terrans are doing. He does pretty swiftly follow up into the triple barracks, starport, adding on medevacs. Ooh. Wait. No, third DC down here? Okay, never mind then. Never mind. I take back my oohs and ahs. Just kidding. But it still isn't as swift a, medevac bio push as an actual 1/1/1 without the Banshee dedication, which so far hasn't done enough, but then exactly then they do enough. 13 probes go down, 1 Banshee lives to continue distracting Zest, and perhaps gets a couple more probes. Nope, just go for the distraction. It's only a single forge this game. It does seem like Zest has been more so just doing the single forge, because double forge became too greedy. Twitch Light's very good. Thank you. You guys should definitely go check out Nerd or Die. I'm actually now affiliated with them. That was weird. Affiliated with them. But I have to update my Twitch stuff. So don't go there yet. Just kidding. Thank you. Charge is done, +1 is done. Banshee does not find too many or any extra damage, but it is distracting, and you can't underestimate the power of distraction. Bomber is going to pretty safely take a third base, and because his Banshees actually did the damage they did, it's actually feeling very good for Bomber right now. Had he done this and the Banshees were immediately shut down, as they seemed like they might be, Zest was pretty on guard against them. He saw them and immediately responded. He just was not in the right place. Then this could be a problem where Zest has just totally out-macroed him. Realized he went for a third CC, went for a faster fourth Nexus, fully saturated on 3 bases for the last 2 minutes instead of the last 30 seconds, so on and so forth. As it is right now, it's actually looking really good for Bomber, who does just put all of his resources into bio. That is eventually supposed to fall off, but there's no doubting that this is a very strong mid-game army. Widow Mines are so cheap and good, though. But Widow Mines! Yeah! More than Paul the controversy. Yeah, I know. Miss you in Australia. I love Australia, man. That was great. That was a great time. It'd be dope to go back. I'm trying to, find out I'm trying to find all the Australian things I can just to, live through them, My mom found some, quote-unquote authentic Australian pies. The company's Australian anyways. Those have been pretty dope. It's really helped me get through this hard time. Bomber might have a pretty sick mid-game, but if his plan is to literally get maxed out on bio, he does get weaker to the potential Storm, which Zest, unlike Hero, is actually going for fairly quickly. Now, I say fairly quickly, it's 9 minutes, it's actually not that quick. Quick Storm doesn't really exist for reasons I've gone over in other casts, but for the context of this game, for how it can play out, sometimes you see Zest go up to 4 bases almost immediately, really stick on 3 gases for a very long time. We see a lot of transitions into Colossus, which take a little bit longer, but the reward sometimes is a lot better. If those can be taken into account, then this is still pretty fast. And that's going to work out well against someone who is mostly bio. But it's not just about Storms. A lot of this bio is Marauders, which will live through Storms. You have to keep a solid count of Gateway units on top of that. And ideally, a decent number of Immortals, which is exactly what Zest has, as soon as they pan back to his army. Because Zest is best, and he's smart. He's smart cookie. Attack on the right side, not going to do too hot. Guardian Shield plus Zealots. Attack on the left side is a big old Doom drop, but Storm's pretty effective. What you going to do now, son? Seriously, though, Bomber, what you gonna do now? Probably a Ghost Academy would be a pretty good idea. Medevac's also getting very low, almost getting 2 Medevacs, just the one, and weakens a lot of the others. But this has been very effective trades, even saving all of his probes here. Continuing to work on his upgrades. Bomber will eventually have an upgrade lead, as we still don't have a second Forge here. But considering that Zest is able to get to some pretty damn crucial storms, I would absolutely take that trade-off. And Zest also is one of those Protosses who has always been very... good about putting them into a War Prism. Not that he's worried about EMPs. Guardian Shield once again activated. Plenty of Medevacs to micro here. A single tank comes forward to try and help this out, but I'm afraid that there won't be really that much help. It's going to die pretty quickly. Targets mostly the Zealots. Bomber is kiting to the best of his ability. A lot of the Immortal shields have been popped. There's still so much Protoss left over that there's no chance to hop on top of those Immortals like there would be in some other scenarios, and his army's getting awfully stim, so he recognizes the necessity to pull back. 2-2 is going to finish in like 20 seconds here, and this could be an anti-timing, or it could be perfect timing, so +2 is finishing for Zest. Very, very close, but I don't think it'll be a timing for Zest. No, it won't. He's going to have to pull back. He needs a couple more reinforcements. He needs to have storms once again, as Bomber is just continuously pumping out 6 Marauders at a time. He is grabbing a 4th base and prepared to transfer that over ASAP. So it's going to be just, I mean, so much bio all the damn time. But the storms are going to be a very effective deterrent against being collapsed in on. I think if Zest were able to transition into some Colossus, that would help, but he's got to be careful about how he does it. Yeah, Storm's in that War Prism looking awfully scary, but much scarier losing a 4th base to an attack he did not see coming. Zest missing some crucial observer coverage perhaps to the right side. Might want to use that robe, but that's not been used in a while for that. But he's also been very low on that gas, especially now that he's lost the potential 8 gases. He will be even more stingy about that gas. Trying to get to +3. He does get a really juicy storm on top of the army. In fact, they even kind of run back into it since realizing there's a very large Protoss army that's left behind. Zest is not being totally tricked by Bomber's multitasking, but he is a little. 4th base goes down. Oh, the storms, the storms, the storms. That first one didn't have a storm. The second one is actually instantly KO'd. That's not going to affect it. There's more storms coming through, but they're kind of lagging behind. But the Immortals, man, they are ripping through the mostly Marauder army. At this point, they're hitting like mostly Marauders. Not even enough Marines to confuse their firing. And this army is looking overpowering on this side of the map, but it's not over yet. Recall is used on about a 1/3 of the army. Lots of Stalkers coming in here with just enough Zealots reinforcing that it looks like it's going to be a hold on that 3rd base. 21 SCVs go down. 3rd CC is under fire. Zest is not quite pushing into the main base as he is trying to make sure his 3rd Nexus stays alive, and that's probably the right priority. Even pulling the probes into this. That 4th base is not a planetary. Not that would hold up against the amount of Immortals that are left over anyways, but it would have taken something down with them. Unfortunately, as is, it's going to be a waste of 400 minerals. SCV is barely getting any time on that SCV. Sorry, the mineral line. As they are pulled away at the very least, but they're being chased down. The army could be potentially surrounded. Bomber not realizing this threat quite yet. Sees half the army, then sees the other half. There are storms coming from behind as well. They're going to go for 2 storms on the backside, turn into an Archon. Medevac's coming out and being instantly taken out by the Stalkers. And this is going to be it. It's a big 270 concave on top of the army, blinking forward aggressively as well. That is 2-2 bios. That's kind of scary to do, but it is going to be enough. And the Immortals barely surviving till the end as well. GG. Zest showing a fantastic response against Bomber's style, which I will say is not, it's not without its merits. That was not just like, lol, Bomber's old. That is a powerful style shown versus Hero, who did make a couple mistakes here and there. His macro wasn't great. He had a couple of bad earlier parts of that game. But then shown here against Zest, who made not no mistakes, but who was doing pretty darn well. And even then, Bomber almost found the secret little like pathways to really start to confusing Zest. Because as soon as Zest loses a 4th base and loses 16 Stalkers and loses his High Templar or just more so into Archons, like either one, and then he forgets to remake the High Templar so he doesn't have a storm for the next 20 Marauders that show up. That's when that thing snowballs, even though you think you've got a handle on it. So you can see how it's very scary. I just think that it's absolutely something you don't do every single game. And I'm quite worried that Bomber will do it every single game. Alright, we got everyone in the right position here. Going into Eternal Empire. Zest continues to be best. Will Bomber be able to stop him? In the top right of Eternal Empire, we have the pink Protoss Zest. In the bottom left is the red Terran. He is Bomber.
Credits received. Thank you for your monetary support.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much, Matrix Matters, for the $5 donation. Hi, ZombieGrub. Greetings from Mother Russia. Thank you for great casting my favorite game. Tell me, are you going to Katowice to cast? This is the point where I'd usually tell people wait for the official announcement, but there has been an official announcement. I am going to Katowice to cast.
Resubscription received.
That's very exciting.
Apparently you are doing something right, Captain.
It's part of my commands on the title. And it's also in my Twitter feed. But I don't mind repeating it because it's a great thing. Yes, I am casting it. Thank you, Soda Nabo, for the 8-month resub. Bomber, more like Boomer. Oh my god, how did I not already think of that joke? It's so obvious. Oh, no. Oh, my brain is as smooth as a boomer's. No. 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 Alright, anyways. Zest, obviously going for something very aggressive. In fact, this is the most aggressive I've seen a gateway. Maybe? Maybe I've seen a gateway here. Or here. But, yeah. Usually you would see a gateway, I would say, maybe back here. Or over here is kind of a common spot, too. This is about as close as possible you can get without the SCV scouting. Or the Marines accidentally scouting it, right? Because Marine would go forward. Yeah. But the good news for Zest is that you don't necessarily get denied aggression here. The fact that Bomber didn't SCV scout is the best thing for Zest. If Bomber SCV scouts, he sees the lack of a nexus, he goes, what the heck, he builds a command center on the high ground, he bunkers up, there's no chance you do any damage, it's a bad time. Because Bomber already committed to the low ground, and you really do not want to cancel that, he's going to try and go for a bunker defense, which is what you have to do. I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong. But the complication comes in the amount of units compared to your DPS, as someone who's had this done to them. In that they could just try and walk past, walk around, and force the bunker to unload, you know, reload, unload, reload. And it gets really annoying. Bomber's also not going for a very, what the heck. Really trying to be Marine King Prime, aren't you? He's also not going for a very sturdy defense against this in general, with a second barracks, adding on add-ons, and a third CC. If Zest knew this, I feel like he would be doing what I was talking about. Obviously, you can't break the main base that quickly, but if 3 Marines popped out of that, they'd get killed. If it was 5 Marines, they would also get killed. They might take out 1 Stalker in the process. They probably do, but still. Like, you have warp-ins coming in very soon, with Warp Gate finishing. Although he didn't seem to chrono it. Yeah, he's not even chronoing it, so never mind. If you chronoed it, I think it's coming in, like, now, and that continued aggression is very scary. But Bomber, he might be denied a little bit of mining here and there. He's actually going to get away with a 3rd CC on the high ground, and pretty fast stim. I actually really like his Reaper, too. As he does need to get across the map and see what Zest is doing. But Zest also needs to see what Bomber's doing. In about, what, 30 seconds, he'll be like, wait, where's the factory unit? Where's the Cyclone? Where's the tank? Where's the Hellions? And he might figure out what it is. But right now, I mean, that still doesn't tell you it's a 3rd CC. That might just tell you it's a 3 racks. Or a 2-on-1. He still won't see it. He doesn't even see this 3rd barracks coming down. Ooh, Bomber. Greedy, but absolutely paying off. Absolutely. So it's going to continue trying to get at least some sight up there. Obviously, the Adepts get through. They're also going to do some damage. But there are the Warp-ins finally. Actually, just a sentry for a force field. He doesn't have enough to bust the bunkers, so this isn't really going to do a whole lot. But Hallucination, I guess, might be an... Oh, no, he has an Oracle. Just kidding. He has a Stargate. Ah! Which I forgot to mention. I was too busy thinking about his Bomber's 3rd CC. And Bomber does not have... What? What does he have? What is it? What is it? He doesn't have a factory! So there's no Widowmine. No Cyclone, no Viking. That doesn't mean much right now, but the Oracle just saw that there's not much defense, and there's also not much aggression. So while he can't really break the defenses, he could maybe go for 2-3 Oracles and go... Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He can go for 3 Oracles, go for the SCVs. Because even if there's a missile turret with 3 Oracles, if they're not repairing instantly, you can bust it down. He also might go for the tech labs. He might go for the Marines that are on the outskirts. 3 Oracles can do a lot right now, even if they don't actually win the game. But he also knows that there's not going to be a timing until Medivacs. If there is... Oh, he could try to force float away. Oh, but he has to be paying attention, which he is. Jeez Louise. Oh my god. There is a very strong chance in a universe slightly different than ours, where the Big Bang happened 1 degree hotter, that he actually jumps and kills that entire army. But Zest was paying attention. Zest also now grabbing a 3rd Nexus. As we saw back when I talked about that Warp Gate, he was chronoing his probe, so... Considering his opening not doing a whole lot of damage, he's tried making up for that. And he's played some really smart moves here to make sure that Bomber doesn't get all the benefits. Which I'm now even kind of starting to think it's going more Zest favored. And he's only up 4 probes. Math is hard. And he doesn't have a lot of technology on his side. In fact, only just now slapping it down. Twilight Council, Forge, and Robo all at once. But I'm looking at Bomber's setup here. He lost a couple of Marines on that failed attack, and that's fine. But he also only had 1 medevac being produced. He also can get force floated out of the main right now. Oh, this is the force float. That's bad. Medevac going to take this very seriously and come back, but that just means that he's not being harassed even more. More time to get all those upgrades, more time to get those gateways. And only now is there going to be double starport production. Despite Bomber having, quick 3rd CC, that only is effective if you can actually take the 3rd CC within due time, which he is not. He also had fast stim, but he didn't really get to use it. All the things he should have had benefits of don't really pan out for him. Whereas Zest, I mean, his build didn't really go, I guess, what you would expect either, but I feel like he's played the smarter game. Or perhaps Bomber just simply did not have as many choices because of what Zest did. Pretty cool game nonetheless. Cool game nonetheless. Blink and +1 are on the way. All 3 Oracles have survived and come back in at a later date. Again, they can take out a missile turret, I think. 2 missile turrets now. Double engineering bays. Bomber will once again have an eventual upgrade lead if that's what truly matters. Zest is going to try and add on some Colossus, which should certainly help. I think this is actually a very good map for Colossus defense. One of the things I didn't talk about against the 8 racks thing was that, in general, a big surround, big concave is good against the splash damage. You nullify. You negate the splash damage as much as possible when you do that. But especially on a map where it's kind of it's like a turtle map. We see a lot of mech games on this. Storms are still good in a choke, obviously. But Colossus are more dependable in a choke. And since they can just cliff walk up here, there's no, bouncing around main 3rd natural as much, perhaps. I don't know. I like the choice. Zest also might be thinking that he's going to just default to a Ghost Academy, but if Bomber really is playing like Old Spice? Nope. Old-fashioned Bomber, then he's just going to add more barracks. And he's being a little one-dimensional. Some cool stuff here. Bomber is now happily on 64 workers mining, but it took so long to get that 3rd CC down. Like, it was kind of supposed to be not just a fast 3rd CC, but like fast on location as well. As he provides aggression with stim or just scares away the army with stim. Didn't really work out that way. Zest had a very effective contain with very few units. And now he is at a pretty safe number. I mean, look at how many sentries he has. Those sentries should be able to buy as much time as possible for more Colossus, upgrades to finish as well. And Bomber might have a supply lead right now that looks kind of powerful, because he also has some decent upgrades. again, Zest just plays defensive, force field, chokes, should be fine. Oh, more missile turrets coming down. Bomber, if he's gonna play a turtle game, which I don't think he is, but it's little missile turrets. If you were to play a turtle game, you really have to tech up. You got to get to Ghost Liberator Viking. So this can't be a turtle game for him. He has to provide the aggression, like now. Well, he still has a 40 army supply lead. One stasis trap is triggered, but there are more. He cannot see their shimmer. He scans the natural and sees 2 stasis traps. Oh, I love the stasis traps. Good use of the oracles. But there's also an army that he did barely not scanned. And that's a very effective army. He's going to go for the forge, deny that +1 armor. +2 weapons is still on the way, so not the worst deficit of upgrades. But Bomber is already on his way to 3 too, so we'll see how that goes down there. Colossus, oh, maybe they're a little vulnerable. Force fields are getting a little low, but Bomber does not decide to jump on that, and that's probably the wise move. Goes for a big pickup, big doom drop into the main base, and now that Zest is now protecting his 4th as well, it does get more difficult to protect his main, his internal organs. But look, his natural army actually moved to the main. Zest is all over this without even necessarily scouting it. He did get a glimpse of the pylon, but I think it's more just like, well, what is he going to do after his army moves back? He's probably going to try and drop. That's a very valid, logical leap. And the stasis trap is triggered on a decent number of units on the high ground. Bottom 4th base is going to be protected by a decent number of units. Zest splits so far pretty damn perfect. This army was a little bit weak once again, but it would only be tackled if this army wasn't in stasis, which it's actually coming out of stasis right now. I would move away from it a little bit, maybe move away, maybe move away. Colossus was in range, and it's exactly what's going to happen. He gets taken down, but the Colossus from the low ground are getting some shots, and it's still going to be a hold, but it could have been a little bit cleaner. Down on the low ground again, trying to attack in. Bomber trying to find that one little weak spot. Not going to find it. Oh my good God, look at that stasis trap. You don't even have to worry now. You don't even have to worry. 2 more Colossus on the way. Zest continuing to upgrade as he did add on a 2nd Forge. Now even going into Storm as Bomber continues with his mass bio style. That is 1 Colossus down on that low ground, but there's 2 Immortals, Guardian's Shields, and just a couple Force Fields. It's going to be a perfect combination of units to hold. These units up on the high ground do end up dying, getting chased down, and in fact, a very aggressive Blink Stalker here from Zest. Might be a little overeager. The Immortals on the front line are going to get taken down, but you know what? The bio army of Bomber got taken down faster, and so much of his supply is in those medevacs, and it's great to have medevacs, but maybe that's a little much. Maybe 12's a little much. He is going to be pushed back truly and entirely. He's going to find a single Colossus. Well, that's a mistake. That's an oopsie. It's an oopsie daisy. The Bomber is desperate now to buy time. He's going to pick up every unit into his medevac and fly to the other side of this little bridge right here. He's going to scan and take out some observers. Nope, nothing. Can't really take out anything. There's not enough anti-air. He's going to go for the Stalkers, but now he's fully surrounded. Once again, at risk of losing all of his medevacs. To blink forward aggressively into the medevacs does not get punished at all. His Bomber's reinforcements, looks like some of them were in his hotkey, some of them were stimmed, but they weren't anywhere close to punish that. And now we are down to 6 medevacs, so in that whole little runaround scene there, Benny Hill should have been playing. Half of the medevacs get killed. Bomber going to go for an attack, just keep up the aggression, hope it eventually finds a weakness. At this point now, he's hoping for a base trade that goes really, really weird. But Zest just simply recalls, and that is certainly a big enough army to handle that. Plus a large army on the offensive, about to have 3-1 to Bomber's 3-2. But upgrades don't really matter. 40 supply lead could be thrown in a really, really weird fashion, but it's not happening. Not happening. Big surrounds, even body blocking with the Stalkers. Zest seems to be very familiar with Bomber's style by now. Perhaps this 8 barracks thing was plaguing the Terran ladder for a while, because Zest seems like he's so over it. GG. I really think that was a very smart game by Zest. Bomber is a little more It was just a little more straightforward from Bomber. He had a goal, he had to wait for that goal, and by the time that goal was hit, Zest had already found a way to kind of counter that goal. Ah, nope. Oh, it's cat hair. Why did I do that? That was doomed for failure. This could be the last game on Efemeran. How does Bomber change things up? My voice is getting a little sore, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little hopeful this is the last game. Unless Bomber can really get me hyped with a very different playstyle. I'm gonna guess it will be the last game. Zest throws a macro game. Well, shouldn't put it that way. I was gonna say he throws a macro game at Bomber, but they threw macro games at each other in the first game. He plays a macro game in the first game, wins it. He plays an aggressive game in the second game, wins it, despite a maybe not perfect start. It's kind of wonky. And now this third game, I have confidence that no matter what he does, Bomber will not be able to do anything. And keep in mind that first macro game was with Bomber killing like 16 probes and 2 banshees, which was pretty good. In the top left, up 2, it is Zest on Efemeran. In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, he is Bomber. So just gonna go ahead and wall off the little Reaper ledge here. I'm gonna follow this probe while I go get a drink of water. Okay, we're good. The casting fair cup. Thank you for thanking me. I do it because I like it, but I hope you guys like it too. Really appreciate all the love today as well. Got some donations, got some bits, got some subs. Feels good. Any cast you've missed from this tournament, or any cast I've done in the past week and 2 weeks, something like that, can be found on my YouTube, by the way. I'd appreciate a follow there. It is just ZombieGrub on YouTube. And I hope to see many of you at IEM Cavici because I will be casting it. Yay, excited. Pylon is put down, but at this point it's going to be like a fake pylon. I'm not sure exactly what his intent was. Maybe a Stargate, actually. Maybe a Stargate. If it wasn't found, a Stargate there would have been brutal. But it was found, so probe had to evacuate that, and now it's just kind of a pylon just being out there. It's going to go for a Twilight Council. Considering that a lot of Zest Twilight Council builds revolve around Stalker openers, like maybe a Depth first to deal with the Reaper, which Bomber hasn't made, by the way. I'm suspicious that was supposed to be a Stargate, but he's changing things up. Won't know for sure. Depth's getting a little scary. If it got the SCV, this one of the other SCV was also very weak. That's the delay in the bunker, that's the delay in the command center, and that's all the Marines dying as they try and go forward. But luckily, everything worked out fine for Bomber. 2 Adepts going to constantly be searching, seeing exactly what build it is. It is a factory and then a 3rd CC. Bomber likes his greed. No starport option also limits the option for scouting. One important thing about medevac drops is that they get across the map and they get some scouting. So it's also why a lot of the drops do intentionally go to the main, even though the natural can be a juicier target. 3 Adepts actually go on top of the Marines. If they don't get the Marines, they get the SCVs. So Bomber has a really tough choice to make. A Cyclone is going to pop out soon. And that will take care of 2 Adepts, but losing all these Marines kind of sucks. And back to my point about scouting. A Liberator can also try and scout. A Viking sometimes can. If you're like, oh, I don't know what they're doing, I'm going to send this over to harass. Like, that can do it too. But the point is, nothing from Bomber is going to go...
Received.
Wait.
Thank you for appeasing the overlord.
Did he actually just get a gateway up and a pylon that was scouted by Bomber? Did that just actually, like, really happen? Oh my god. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know, maybe this was his plan from the get-go, and he knew Bomber wouldn't take out the pylon. It's hard to take out the pylon when 3 Adepts are breathing down your throat, so that's, that is probably his plan, actually, the more I think on it. Bomber is not scouting this. Bomber does not scout the Proxy Stargate. Sorry, Gateway. He does not scout the Twilight Council, no Robo. He doesn't scout the lack of the 3rd gas. He doesn't scout so many things. Adepts are about to come into his face and punch it. Just a little ha-cha. Ha-ya. And they get right on top of that tank. No repair. SCV's being pulled. It's going to be a massive loss of SCVs. Certainly taking away the power of Bomber's fast 3rd CC. The Cyclone has to be careful here. It's about to be taken down by the Adepts. Oh, no, he actually decides not to go for the kill on that. I guess thinking the SCVs and the Mule will be a better target because he gets the Cyclone. He doesn't get those SCVs because the Marines probably do clean things up. So instead of getting like 12 SCVs, he gets 18. And I guess that is a better choice because he still not only took down 18 SCVs, he still also took down a decent number of army units. And that's always the balancing act you have to consider is that, like, it's not just economy. You kill economy with Adepts, counterattack happens, you still die. That was actually what 2015 Legacy of the Void was. But he took down both. So that was just a really nice little attack there for Zest, who was going to continue threatening. Did he kill his own SCV? And whether he has to pull the SCVs or not, again, it's like I get both or I get a lot of one or the other. I get all your army, all your SCVs, or I get both. And both is great. And he even gets away with 3 Adepts and continuing to warp in Adepts. Following up with Blank and a Warp Prism. I guess he's just going to go for an attack. He's going to have 3 Nexus behind it with 46 workers, which is not, that awful saturation. Okay, let's go back into probes. But no forges, a Dark Shrine, actually. He is looking for the kill. The Adepts once again go in. They do take out the Cyclone finally. The bunker is still holding strong for now. So that will be Bomber's consistent, just like, safety net there. But it's a bad safety net. Like, you're still dying in every other way. There's the Warp Prism. The bunker, no longer the safety net, keeping him from just straight up dying in this game. He does have stammed by with Medivacs, which is a lot more convincing. But without combat shields against Resident Enclave Adepts, his Marines are actually still susceptible to dying. And he can't quite be in 2 places at once, so he's still losing a ton of SCVs. 3rd CC be damned. As long as Zest doesn't do an atrocious attack, like lose 16 Adepts, 10 Adepts into a Bio Ball, he should win this game. He would have to do that and then not have enough reinforcements back at home, which I don't think is possible. But that is certainly how we've seen people lose games in this situation. Bad Adept shade onto like Widow Mines, which we know Bomber doesn't make. And then immediate counterattack that they can't hold. But Zest has not just Adepts available or Blink Stalkers. He also has DTs, which he just warped in, which are going to wait for Bomber to move out. And as soon as he sees, I think, the drop in his natural, which could do a lot of damage, sure, he's going to go with the DTs as well. Oh, they got recalled? Wait, what? Wait, what? What happened? Hello? I have to use my second hand to cast? Come on. Okay, they did get recalled. Well, the Adept are still doing a good job. SCVs and probes go down this time, but in exchange, DTs... I'm not sure DTs didn't really need to be back home. He might have thought it was going to be a double drop, or just like more committed than it was. And I could definitely see him being worried about that. So DTs coming home is a safer option, but they probably didn't need to come home. They could have walked into the natural right now and done some serious damage. There's a missile turret, and he's building a missile turret in the main as well. He might just finally get that Warp Prism. He does finally grab it. But now Zest could maybe go into some Archons and do alright. You know, Zest did take a decent amount of damage right there. That is the comeback that Bomber was looking for. He's about to lose a Medivac, and that sucks. But he's still going to be up in upgrades. So he starts his +1 Medivac. Hello? Nope, he doesn't lose it. He's going to go up to the third. Well, so much for that promising comeback. Zest takes the 3-0 over Bomber. And will be your EPL Open Cup Korea Asia server number 5 champion. GG.